Okay.
We got video. We've got audio.
Mm-hmm.
All we need now is show-yo.
It's Julio.
All right, here goes, everybody. Sit back, relax, enjoy. It is time for the show, and it begins in 3, 2, 1.
This is weather, one of nature's ever-changing mysteries. It affects every one of us every day of our lives, and yet we know relatively little about it. Weather, that's something we'd all like to do something about, isn't it? And so tonight we've brought you down here to Remington Rand's New York Computing Center in order that we might show you that something actually is being done about it.
I had to sponge my pits in your mom's commode like a French lady.
Oh, yeah.
The Morning Stream. If you don't want the silver, you gotta take the lead.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to TMS. It's the morning stream for January 18th, 2024. I'm Scott Johnson with Brian Ibbett. Hi, Brian.
Hello, Scott.
Hey, man. So today, already I've made 3 mistakes. One, I forgot to hit record on the pre-show, so I have to go back and do that for the video. It's fine. Whatever. Mm-hmm. I can do it. I can extract it. Number 2, I put all the wrong video information today, so we got all discombobulated there.
Right.
And later, who knows what'll happen? I don't know. Maybe I'll call Wendi and accidentally call my mom instead. I don't know.
Well, what's her therapy game like? Can she solve a problem, you think?
No. I mean, practical stuff like, this sink's clogged. What do we do? That sort of stuff, she's good at that. But if we have any kind of like really interpersonal issues we want to bring up or anything, she's no good for that stuff. Forget it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Darn.
Yeah. That'd be a real I don't know where Wendi got it. She didn't get any of that therapy-minded stuff from anyone in my family. That all came from her.
That's interesting. Like, as kids, when was the first time that you noticed that she was like a people helper kind of thing? Like, with somebody who would be able to do well in the therapy world?
Probably pretty early. She seemed to be like a level ahead of everybody on observation. So we would be seeing something happen in real time. Maybe it was a family thing or one of my other siblings having a meltdown or something on a trip to Lake Powell or something. And Wendi would be the one that would kind of be organizational about the making of peace. So my mom would be, I'm going to turn this car around kind of attitude. My dad would have, and I'd be back there going, oh, she always does this. Or, we'd have our parts to play. But Wendi would be like, well, now, if you just think about it, we're only on the road for another 2 hours and we can play this game between now and then. It'll be like no time at all. Like she was really good at that analytical sort of stuff growing up.
Yeah. Here's a book I'd like you to check out.
Yeah, here's an Amazon link. Go grab this, get it on your Kindle, and do your homework, and then we'll talk about it next week, she says. And then she would charge my family $300 an hour. It was crazy.
That's right. But we didn't get a full hour. Doesn't matter.
No.
You took out my time.
Doesn't matter.
Let's ask her this as well, and let's see what she, like if she... I mean, she'll probably say the same thing you did, but I'm curious to see when she knew that she was...
Yeah, she may have she may have a very different take on it. I'm not sure. But I think, I would observe it even like when I was in high school and she was much younger. I would see her in grade school moving into junior high, and I would see her relationships with her friends. It felt like she was the one who kind of had everything figured out, and would help people where they needed help or whatever it was. I don't know. We should ask her.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. You might have realized it before she did, even. Right? You might have figured that out before she did.
And she'll probably say, "Oh, it was when you chased me with the cold soldering iron."
That's what I knew. I knew that if I went into therapy, I'd at least have a handful of family members as clients.
Yeah,
if nothing else.
Or at the least, I'd have some great stories to relate to other people who received trauma from their idiot older brother.
Right, exactly.
Entirely possible. Yeah. All right, Brian, I don't know if you ever get like a frozen meal kit in the mail or anything like that. You ever get those?
Yeah, well, we get the Blue Apron. We used to get HelloFresh. We get Blue Apron. You talking about that?
That kind of thing, yeah. Now, some of that stuff comes frozen, right? I think the Blue Apron stuff comes frozen, or maybe it doesn't. Not sure.
Comes chilled. Comes in a chilled pack, but not frozen. The meat is usually the proteins are usually frozen in a separate walled off ice block container in the bottom.
Right. Okay. So you'll have exactly my experience with this. This is from we got some Factor stuff for Core.
Oh, cool.
And when they show up, they're not frozen. They're ready to throw in the microwave for 2 minutes, and there's your thing.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to eat them. Eat them. Refrigerate them. Don't freeze them. Refrigerate them.
Yeah, get those things in the fridge. Don't leave them out. Anyway, they come in a box with these big, almost like bags, but they're kind of in block shape, mostly because of the shape of the box they came in. They're these frozen blocks.
Sure.
Now, yesterday, I was trying to dispose of a couple of those, and I don't know why I thought this, because of course it's not true. But I just thought it was like ice in there, you know?
Uh-huh. Like a block of ice with food in the middle of it.
Yeah,
Like Demolition Man, you're looking at, what's his face? Sylvester Stallone encased in ice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or even like, when you take a cooler to the beach or something, you just throw ice. I just kind of thought that's all it was.
Oh, you're thinking like not in the I see what you're talking about. You're throwing out the freezer bag, the bag that contains the frozen stuff in it.
Correct.
The gel. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Now it's funny you said gel, because I didn't know there was gel. I just thought it was water and ice in there.
Oh, yeah. No.
I had no idea. So I'm such an idiot. I take these 2 bags out, and Kim took them out and laid them out because she wanted them to defrost before we threw them out or put them in the garbage. And, that was fine, but I thought, well, why am I going through all this rigmarole? They're here, they're melted. I'm doing dishes. I may as well just run this water. What I thought was water, I should just run this down the sink. No big deal. Let's do it.
Yeah, which is what we do. Yeah, we empty the bags into the kitchen sink, and then I think we recycle the bags because you're supposed to be able to. It's supposed to be completely carbon footprint free or whatever.
Are they? Because this is where I was worried. Because cutting them open. So again, I cut it open expecting water. What I got was this viscous freaking petroleum jelly. That's liquid. It smells like a gas station. Like it smells
Does
like
it really?
oil
That's
and
funny.
like a greasy floor mechanic shop. Yeah. Like if you ever walked through a Jiffy Lube, it smells like that. And I went,
I know exactly you're behind a guy who's wearing a blue shirt with his name in cursive on the front pocket. You're standing behind him at the Taco Bell waiting for your taco salad, and it's that smell. Like, I know you work under cars all day long.
Yeah, it's that smell. And I went, oh, and then I kind of had a panicked moment of like, that probably shouldn't go down the sink. And so I turned to a just previously hand cleaned mixing bowl. And I just went and squeezed the whole thing into there, and then I got a real look at it because it's you can kind of see how gelatinous it is and everything. And I called Kim and I said, "Is this stuff like even remotely safe to put in the sink, or what am I supposed to do with it?" She goes, "Oh no, take it out to the trash. You don't want it in the sink. You don't want it in the trash." And then for a minute I was hesitant to even tell her that I'd cut it open. But I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll put it in the trash. Gotcha. And, winked at the phone and hung up, and then took the bowl out and dumped it in a box, in a bag, and then into the trash so it wouldn't get all gross. But anyway, I did not put it down the sink. Now, the chat says I should never put that down the sink, right? That stuff's going to coat something and clog something and cause issues.
See, and I don't know what Factor's deal is, but Blue Aprons... they in 2019, I'm saying, reading from their website, at Blue Apron, we're proud of our gel packs. In 2019, we became the first meal kit company to introduce drain-safe, fully recyclable gel packs developed in partnership with Nordic Ice. Our packs were so impressive, we received the 2019 Packaging Innovation Award from Dow. Basically, it's water-based. The contents can be safely drained down the sink. Once emptied, the plastic exterior can be recycled via in-store drop-off. So I don't know what Factor uses, but Blue Apron, you absolutely 100% can cut it open. Like, once it thaws, you put those things on the counter, let them thaw. Once they're thawed, cut the thing open and pour the goo out.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's just so you've got some kind of sink pipe safe goo in those, and these do not. As far as I know, these don't. Maybe these are. I don't know. I mean, I can't. I'm looking it up on their site.
I don't know. It would say on the bag, by the way. It should say on the bag, like whether or not you can.
I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think to look at the bag. mean, of course it'll have something on there, but I didn't read it. Anyway, it all made it to the trash and everything was fine. And the kitchen smelled like a Jiffy Lube for about a half an hour. But other than that, everything went fine.
It's funny. Rainbow Bright says, can you recycle them? Can you refreeze them? Use them for your lunchbox? Yeah, and we have, because we've been getting Blue Apron for a while. We do Blue Apron maybe every 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks. We don't do it weekly, but it almost serves more as, we need some new ideas for recipes. We need some new ideas for things that are quick and easy to make. And so half of the things we get from Blue Apron, we're like, save this recipe, and we'll use it on one of our non-Blue Apron weeks as like this chicken and rice thing was amazing, or this other thing was great. So we saved initially like 4 or 5 of the pairs of cooling packs that we get to put in, in the cooler. When we have friends over, we'll refreeze those and put them in there to keep drinks cold in the cooler and stuff like that.
That's a good idea. So I like that. These are too big for lunches and things, but they're big enough. They'd be perfect for drinks, or
They're great for coolers. They're great for we just keep them all in the outside freezer, and if anything happens that we like, oh my god, we need to clear out the kitchen refrigerator freezer, then we can put all that stuff in the we won't be able to fit it all into our freezer out in the garage, but we can fit it into the cooler with these freezer bags and keep everything ice cold while we deal with refrigerator problems if we have them.
So I think I found the difference. If yours doesn't smell like petroleum, then you have the newer cleaner stuff.
Pourable ones. Okay, so
mine smelled like, because mine smelled like a motor oil.
Yours did not win the Design Innovation Award from Dow.
No. I will admit, I was this tempted, only a tiny bit, like a little eyebrow hair tempted, to just pull out a lighter or a match and see if it was flammable or
You're
not.
Like the kid on the playground who tasted the cocaine, Scott.
A little bit. I wouldn't taste it.
Let's see if it's explosive. I'll try this out in the fridge, in the kitchen sink.
Oh, I was 100% the kid that would try to light his thing on fire. I was not the kid that would taste anything I found, but I would light it on fire. Like, I knew that same kid, I could pay that kid $1 and he would taste the gel from the from the bag.
God.
Yeah. And I don't think you want to eat that stuff, that frozen gel stuff.
So yeah, look at the packaging of the thing itself and see if it's something drainable. The ones from Blue Apron are, and there we go. This is not a sponsorship for Blue Apron, but man, I'm gonna tout how great they are just with that too.
Well, according to Mantlebeard, according to Factor, the contents of our gel packs are made of 99% salt water and 1% sodium polyacrylate. That's probably what I'm smelling, is the polyacrylate.
Yeah. It's 99% salt water and 1% Amco Repairman. Yeah. That's what it is.
So Factor Gel goes, Mantlebeard, do they say on the site whether you should chuck it or is it pipe safe? That's the part I was unsure about. That's the whole point.
Sodium polyacrylate is like a
I don't know what that is.
I think it's a acrylic, so polyacrylate, so multiple multiple acrylate plastic, which is what you're smelling. So yeah, probably not.
Yeah, they're saying no drains, and you should pour it out in the trash, and then if you can, recycle the bags. Which is what I was trying to do, except
you can dispose of them by draining the gel into the trash. That's like, why would you drain that into the trash? Then you can put the bag into the trash.
Well, then you can recycle
the bag.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. If you're recycling the bag, then yes. If not,
but you're not just gonna. I'm not just gonna like cut the side open my plastic trash can, and go right into there, right? So you're going to put it in something else, which means you're putting it in another bag.
Yeah. No, you're right. If you've already got bagged trash, I guess you could pour it in there and just be careful.
Yeah, right. There you go. Put it in the kitchen trash and then seal that bag.
But I don't trust that. Yeah. I don't trust that very much. That stuff falls out and does weird shit.
Leaks, and then all of a sudden now your trash can smells like Jiffy Lube, and
and then the trash man accidentally dumps it wrong and it goes all over the side of their truck, and now they don't want to like me anymore, and we can't have that. We gave them Christmas gifts, damn it. They have to like us. Anyway, the lesson here, don't be stupid. That's the lesson. We asked people about their Temu experiences because
Yes,
the thing's
right.
everywhere and everyone's advertising it and it freaking sucks and I hate all the ads. But I wanted to know if the products were legit. Is it a decent shopping experience? Are people getting what they want out of this?
Are they getting thinking they're ordering something that's really cool and then they get it and it's the cheapest piece of flimsy garbage they've ever seen?
Sure. And a risk that probably runs through most of the online retail experience anywhere. Amazon sometimes will have a thing. I bought something on Amazon once that I thought was supposed to be good for something. I don't remember what it was, but I got it and it was terrible. It was the worst possible result.
Yeah.
And I sent it back. So I realized that plenty of places are susceptible to this, and why not Temu? Why not Amazon? Why not anybody else? But in this case, we got an answer from another Brian in Waxahachie, Texas.
Yeah, something like that.
Down in Texas, says, our family did a Temu Christmas last season. Your Secret Santa had a $20 limit for stuff off on the site, so we had a great time. Says I've bought a bunch of stuff over the last year or so, and it has all been worth the price paid. So take that for what it's worth.
That's really funny. That's actually a really funny way to do it, and and that way everybody not only gets something fun and goofy that they weren't expecting from Temu, but they also get identity theft. So that's cool. That's a really good.
You also lose all of your important data and
that's right.
Potentially your credit cards and your
use a burner gift card to buy on Temu, and you're just fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine. See, that's my biggest concern. Whenever I go near that thing, when I go near the sun at all. It's just like, ooh.
Just has a vibe, right? It just has a vibe.
Yeah. They want me to, put my name in too many little things. They want me to sign up for weird stuff. They want to make me play a freaking roulette game at the beginning of the whole experience. Like, I just want to shop, you guys. I just want to search for, like, Stormtrooper helmet. And
that is shopper engagement, and that is an SEO practice that is highly effective, Scott.
That's true. Dr. Calhoun says set up a one-time credit card on privacy.com. I've never even heard of doing that. Is that a thing?
Oh, that's cool. I remember Chase used to let you do a burner credit card number. They don't anymore, which is a bummer. But
so how's that work? You just
you go to Chase, you log into your account, you say, I want to use this credit card, give me a burner number, and they just give you a new 16-digit number and a 3-digit code that you can use on a site that will only work for that purchase, and then it won't. That number will never work again, or at least it won't until Phil Jones in Fresno randomly gets that card number on his new MasterCard.
Yeah. So wait a minute though. So if I do that, then do I have to prepay it? Like I have to say an amount ahead of time? No,
because you're using it with your. I think it'll just be whatever price, whatever amount you use on it. It'll use it, but it'll only use it once. So
okay.
Yeah. So it's not like.
So it could have a limit of I don't know, $10,000, and you may only use it once for $20.
They might have a limit, and there might have been a way to set it. They don't let you do it anymore. They don't do it for you anymore. It's a bummer because that was a really, there's some things I order online that it's like. This is the only company that sells it. I think they're legit. They look legit, but just to be safe, let me get a burner number.
Interesting.
Privacy. So privacy.com links to your card. I like that.
Yeah, that's cool. How do they charge for this? You do a personal. Oh, a personal's for free. You get up to 12 cards per month, secure merchant locked and single-use cards, ability to set up spending limits, pause and close cards, access to your web app, mobile, blah, blah, blah. And a foreign transaction or if you're foreign, you get a 3% fee on top of stuff. That's normal. Yeah. There's a pro level. They'll let you have up to 36 new cards per month.
Oh, jeez.
What else? A bunch of support. That's mainly the same, though. And then 25 a month gets you 60 cards plus some extras.
God, 12 cards a month for the free version, plenty. That is totally
for me. Yeah,
just fine. Yeah, exactly.
I do not make enough transactions in a month. I probably don't even do 12 for me. Kim does, maybe combined with like the both of us, but by myself, no way. I wouldn't even come close. I'd probably use, Well, what about recurrings, I guess? That's a big question.
Yeah, like subscription kind of things.
Yeah. Probably don't use that for this, right?
You can do merchant locked, so it would only work for that merchant subscription. So they have different kinds. Looks like they've got merchant locked and then single use cards. So obviously your single use wouldn't work for a subscription, but a merchant locked one would.
This
Like
seems
you say,
all right. Seems cool.
Subscribe to this Japanese treat monthly subscription box. You can say, great, let me use this merchant locked one, and they're the only ones who can use it.
Yeah, this seems all right. You get cash back on the 2 paid options.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, 1% cash back on your purchases. That's not huge, but
that's yeah.
But the whole point is,
if you're making big charges, then that actually could be. If you're doing $1,000 a month in this stuff, then 1% cash back pays for that $10 a month for the Pro.
Yeah, and they do looks like a 1Pass / 1Password sort of connection to all your browsers. So all you do is just log in, sign in, and bam, it takes the card. That's pretty nice. Cool.
Okay, that is pretty cool. There we go. Privacy.com. Also not a sponsor, but look at all the free airtime they just got from us.
Tons of it. Way more than a standard ad. You guys owe us.
That's right.
You know what? Exactly. Here we'll take this in exchange. A $10 a month level for Brian and for me, just separate accounts that just are now, we don't pay the 10. We're just now a lifetime.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure. Grandfathered in forever. Let's do it. All right. Finally, a note about all you can eat. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
This is for TMS. This is from Racer951Y. He's very active in our Discord as well.
Yes, he's a very generous Steam code donor as well. We've gotten a lot of stuff from him.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, and I want to thank. I don't know if I know he listens to Core. I'm not sure he listens to the show, but there is a listener named Norm who sent me a bunch of Core codes, and we've been giving those away and having a great time doing it. So just shout out to Norm if he's listening. He just entered the bar, Norm. Let's see. This is what he says. It says, me and 3 buddies have been banned from 2 different all-you-can-eat Chinese restaurants in Oklahoma. Signed Racer 95-1Y. Yeah, I don't like these things where people are like all-you-can-eat shrimp or all-you-can have whatever.
The Red Lobster gate.
Because the one thing they don't do is they don't tell you is that if you come and take advantage or exploit their deal, they have every right to say you can't come here anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like you have some open ticket to come be a dick. So
that's right.
Not that Racer, not that you were a dick, but you know what I'm saying. It's like,
I don't know if I've talked about this, but one of the things, there's a subscription service that I belong to, which is the Panera Sip Club, and this is a like all you can drink coffee and soda, and there's their teas, they're like flavored teas and stuff like that, but nothing, you can't do a latte or a cappuccino or something like that. It has to be just their straight coffee, and they're only 5 minutes away from me, and it's cheaper than the bags of coffee that I was buying, the ground coffee that I was buying from Starbucks or Red Silo. I really like Red Silo's coffee. It's a local mom and pop place.
Sure.
But it's like, you know what? I just go, I take my Spider-Man thermos mug here.
Yeah. Like it.
I put 2 Splenda in it and a little bit of sugar-free, fat-free Coffee Mate. And then I head over to Panera 5 minutes away, boop, 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 log into their thing, and then get my coffee and leave.
Wow.
And,
wow.
And I easily get more than the $10 or $11 a month that comes from that. And then, because I'm going there, they say, oh, thanks for being a customer or Panera customer. How about a free pick 3 meal? Or how about a free soup? That sort of thing. So
that's great.
Yeah.
I still have never been to a Panera. I don't know what my deal is. We got them here.
Yeah, it's
never been.
You know, the rest, the food is okay. I think they make some killer sandwiches. Like lunchtime, get like a bacon tomato
big
on
bread.
Focaccia bread.
Yeah,
that's.
We have a place like that here, something bakery, and it's kind of the same food. So maybe that's why I just never felt pressured to do it.
It's nothing that I would go out of my way for. And it's funny because, like, you look at the chat now, ICU says Panera is ... okay. Dr. Calhoun, Panera is meh personified. Panera is nothing special, says Stoic Squirrel. It's pretty much like Panera is it's good. It's good.
It's okay.
But it's good with like a De Niro frowny shrug. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
I like the De Niro frowny shrug.
Yeah, the De Niro frowny shrug.
I don't know what happened from it, but you remember in the news they had the Panera was charged with, or they were being accused of their caffeine-loaded lemonade of killing a guy and all that.
Yes, and you know what came from that? Now every single time I go to their little iPad at the counter and say I want to get my free cup of coffee, like it pops up a menu: drinking caffeinated drinks such as our charged lemonades can cause da 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 and blah blah blah.
Really?
Yes.
Even though that, I don't think they even went to court on this. I don't think they even
really.
Like,
well, they settled out of court to put that warning on their drink stations.
There's a new lady 17 hours ago, in fact, who says that the highly caffeinated Panera charged lemonade caused her permanent hearing loss. Is what she claims.
Oh no, really? That's horrible.
Well, just cut back on the caffeine there, fellas.
Yeah. I think they just didn't realize what the charge was in the charged lemonade. I don't do the charged lemonade because it's like more sugar per ounce than a full-on Coca-Cola.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah,
that might be a problem there. Like,
I agree.
No, I got diabetes from your charged lemonade. How did this happen?
Thank you for the cup of diabetes. Yum yum
exactly.
yum. So here's the levels. Okay, so if we go from 0 to 20 milligrams of caffeine per ounce, which by the way is about the maximum before you really do start killing people. Red Bull is the lowest with just under 10. Monster at 10. Panera at about 12. Panera Dark Roast just above that.
Really, that's what I get is the Panera Dark Roast.
Yeah, so you're getting more caffeine than the lemonade people. In your coffee.
What's that, Scott? What?
What? I can't hear you anymore. I have permanent hearing loss.
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts is higher. Starbucks Dark Roast is higher, almost 17. And Bang, I don't know what Bang is. Is that a drink?
That's the cherry drink.
It's like some
it's a
influencer
canned energy
shit.
drink that's cherry or pomegranate. No, cherry based.
It's some YouTuber, right? Something like
Where's
that.
that Bing? You know what? I might be thinking of Bing. That would make more sense because Bing cherries.
Yeah, I think it's a influencer drink.
Is it?
I think so. I hate those. But anyway, Bang's at the highest. They're almost a full 20. So by the norms here, the Panera thing that people are worried about isn't even close to the one that's the highest. In fact, it's below the coffee you get for free.
Yeah, right. Oh, good. So there you go.
Seems like bullshit a little bit.
It does seem like bullshit. By the way, yeah, Bang does have the black cherry vanilla. I did have one of those once at an airport.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, the lowest? Guess what the lowest is?
The lowest amount of caffeine, but still containing caffeine?
Yeah, in a commercial drink brand. Who has the low? And it'll be a brand you know.
Let's say Arizona iced tea.
Incorrect. It is Coca-Cola 12-ounce can, only 34, well, 2.3 per ounce. So 2.83 per ounce, so about 34 total.
Oh, that's not bad at all. Jeez.
No, it's low.
They're like, don't drink a Coke before bed.
Yeah.
It's pretty minor.
Yeah. The Bang, 16-ounce Bang is the one at 300. Wait, 300 what? Oh, milligrams of caffeine. So per serving, I don't understand their chart, but whatever. Anyway, just be careful out there, everybody. Don't be drinking stuff.
Logan Paul, I guess, is the one who's involved.
There it is. Ex-TikToker Logan Paul.
Yeah.
It's fine. You know what? I'll say this. His brother, Jake, he's a pretty good MMA fighter. I'll give him that.
Okay.
I'll give him that. He can actually go out there, and I'm not a big MMA fan, so I don't know all the ins and outs, but it seems like he can kind of hold his own. MMA people write in if I'm totally up in the night here, but he seems like he can do it. Take all the other exposure out of it for a second and just focus on that. I think he's a decent MMA fighter. And when Logan Paul does his WWE appearances, he seems fine there too. Seems fine.
Which it was Logan that did the whole I'm filming from a Japanese suicide forest.
Yep.
That was okay.
We covered that right here, in fact. I think
we did. I think that's when I said I'm done with that whole that whole family.
Yeah, that was pretty lame. I mean, and by then, I mean he had already been doing, I don't know, years of this kind of stuff,
shock videos and stuff, Vine and YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, I can't. I really don't. I don't live around those circles, but I can tell you that I was Logan Box. I didn't know that, but Jake Paul's MMA stuff is actually kind of fun to watch. So there's that.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Racer. We appreciate it. If you want to send in your own thoughts, feelings about any of this, or if you're an MMA fan and you think I'm totally wrong about Jake Paul's placement in the MMA world, then send in a call or a voicemail or a text. And you can do that at 801-471-0462 and let us know.
Actually, people are disagreeing because it's Jake Does Boxing. Logan Paul is the one in WWE.
Well, no. No, I knew he was in WWE. I'm saying Jake Paul does. Doesn't Jake Paul do some MMA?
They're saying Jake Does Boxing.
It's MMA though, right? Or is it regular boxing?
This is between you and the chat room, Scott. I'm just facilitating their messages to you, but
it's not an MMA yet. They say. Oh, I thought it was MMA.
Kelly 138 says only boxing for Jake.
Oh, okay.
But then TV's Travis says Jake does both. Maybe why don't you guys all come together, get your information together?
Yeah, I mean, I knew Logan did wrestling.
Report back does.
Yeah, I knew Logan did wrestling, but I thought Jake Paul did the.
And really, just report back to Scott because I don't give a shit about any of this stuff.
Brian doesn't care. I don't even care. I don't even really care, to be honest. No, ain't nobody care about this.
Yeah, like you said, I wrote off the whole Paul family years ago and never looked back.
Yeah, I wrote him off when I went, Paul's not a last name. I'm out.
That's right. There is not a Paul family-sized hole in my life that I need to fill.
No. May there never be.
Maybe Aaron Paul, but nobody else.
Oh, yeah, I do like Aaron Paul. I should not besmirch all Pauls. He's a good Paul.
Right, he's a good Paul.
And RuPaul. Wait, RuPaul?
Yeah, RuPaul. Sure.
What about who's the one that makes the guitar?
Les Paul.
Wes
He's
Paul.
Another good Paul.
That's a good Paul.
That's another good Paul. There are some good Pauls. Yeah.
Yeah, these are decent Pauls.
Yes.
Don't let them ruin the rest of the Pauls. Let's move on to some news. We have some news to cover, and it's important news. So here you go. Today's news brought to you by
Coverville today, noon Mountain Time at twitch.tv/Coverville. It's time to kick off your Sunday shoes with the 40th anniversary of the soundtrack of a little film called Footloose. Yeah, they came out 40 years ago.
What?
Holy poop. So, of course, we're going to cover every single track from the album, as well as the 4 bonus tracks that were added in the 15th anniversary release. So you can hear covers, of course, the title track, Let's Hear It for the Boy, Almost Paradise, Holding Out for a Hero, as well as Bang Your Head by Quiet Riot, Hurts So Good by John Mellencamp, Foreigners Waiting for a Girl Like You, because those played in the bar, I think, that they were at or something. Mm-hmm. There's some place in the movie they played but weren't on the official soundtrack. So today, noon Mountain Time, twitch.tv/Coverville, playing some Footloose and also playing some Marvel Snap.
Nice. If I wasn't starting the Greg Street Show right then, I would drive to Lehigh and I would park in front of the roller mill.
in front of the flour. It's a flour mill, right?
Yeah, it's a place called Lehigh Roller Mills. It's a big flour mill and they make like pancake mixes and a million other things. And it's still there, and I could stand out by the freeway where John, who was the dad, or the Lithgow, duh. Yeah. Where John Lithgow is out there getting chewed out by his daughter or whatever or his wife. I know right where that intersection is. I could park right there. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that to celebrate your 40th anniversary look at Footloose.
Why don't you just find some podunk dude and teach him how to dance, and it'll look really weird and awkward because he doesn't know the rhythm, and then all of a sudden he's a great dancer.
Yeah, I could do that. In fact, I'd go right over to Lehigh High School, the 100-year-old high school where those scenes were filmed, and I could do that there. Yeah.
And just pick a random high school student and team him how to dance. That's not weird. Is that weird? That's not weird.
Not weird at all.
That's not weird.
No.
What's weird about that?
Who would call that weird? Only weirdos would call that weird.
Only weirdos would call that weird.
We have Florida in the story, or in the news. Florida story. Check this out. These Florida monkeys can give you herpes.
Oh no!
Yeah, you got to watch out. Herpetic monkeys in Florida. And here's where they've been found, so you can watch out for them if you're in Florida.
Okay.
These monkeys are called Rhesus macaques, or macaques.
I thought we were calling macaques.
We did that. We went through this, right?
We went through this, right? Were they macaques or macaques? I think macaques is what we settled on, right?
I cannot remember. Crap. Well, whatever it was.
We obviously retained it really well, folks.
We are sure about the Rhesus part, or the Rhesus. We're sure about the Rhesus part. Rhesus monkeys. Reese's? Now we don't know. Reese's.
It's Reese's. Oh, it's absolutely Reese's.
Okay, it's
definitely
Reese's.
not Reese's.
It's not that freaking Dunaway candy thing.
It's macaques, and but it's Rhesus monkeys.
Rhesus macaques.
Rhesus macaques.
All right, I'm down. The man likes how that is said. Here we go. Sorry, everybody. I may have just watched my one of my favorite hours of TV last night. All right, so just
pays attention to the monkeys.
I love him so much. I loved that finale.
Oh, it was really good. It was
no
really
spoilers. I'm just saying that that finale and that final scene understands the exact ingredients, and I don't mean to be coy about that because of the whole tie into some actual ingredients. But
and we're talking about Fargo.
We're talking about Fargo, season 5.
The name yet. Yep.
They have the exact ingredients of what makes Fargo Fargo from the very beginning, from the first film on through. Yes. They understand it better than anyone, and they nailed that. So for anyone who doesn't understand why it went down the way it went down, or why it ended on the note it ended on, you don't understand Fargo. It is so good.
It's good, and we again not certainly not giving anything away, but there's a character, a very consistent kind of character that you find in a lot of the Fargo seasons. I was talking VM Vargas, but also in the Joel and Ethan Coen movies. You brought up Anton Sugar. I think goes even as far back as Raising Arizona and the demon bounty hunter on a motorcycle. That is this personification of evil and death and maybe a little bit of redemption, but still is maybe appears at first glance to be the main antagonist, but really isn't when you kind of look at things.
Yeah, you also end up with your piece of soup. There's always a supernatural element to Fargo.
Yeah,
and it's always very understated and very weird, and its job is to distract you a little bit and have you go, wait a minute, what happened back there? Why is that? What? And then you go on, and you're like, wow, this is amazing, but I still got to think about that thing. We can talk about season 2 because it's so old, but in season 2 it was supposedly aliens, but we didn't ever really know. There was no confirmation, but it was enough for you to be sort of bugged by it the whole time in a good way.
Yeah.
Oh man,
yeah,
I loved this season. I absolutely adored it. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
People were amazing.
It's really, really good. Yeah, I need to. I'm going to go back as soon as I'm done with my current binge for recommendals. I think I'm going to go back and watch all the Fargo seasons from the beginning.
Having done this recently with Kim, I can tell you you'll enjoy every second of it. It's so good.
Sure I will. Yep.
Yeah, it's so good. All right, these monkeys.
Cool. Anyway, monkeys. Rhesus macaques.
That's right. They were originally brought to Florida by the manager of a glass-bottom boat operation. A-hole. Shouldn't have brought these over. They don't belong here.
No kidding.
These monkeys don't belong in America. Get them out of here. Says, however,
species.
That's right. The monkeys swam away from the island into the surrounding forest, breeding and increasing their numbers over the years, while the population of monkeys in the Silver Springs State Park area have reached 400 at some points. Trapping and removal efforts have kept them from getting out of hand entirely. As of 2015, FWC reports that there were around 190 inside this park. Anyway, nowadays these monkeys can be found throughout the state. The sightings likely stem from the group of monkeys at Silver Springs. Aside from the environmental concerns, these monkeys pose a threat to public health, as rhesus macaques in Florida have tested positive for herpes B. Herpes B, everybody.
Herpes B. I don't know the different herpes. One of them is just the cold sores, right? The other one is like the full-on.
There's hepatitis. There's herpes simplex. What do we all told when we were younger?
Yeah.
Herpes
simplex is it all came from Eddie Murphy, didn't it? Wasn't it all like?
I feel like
Eddie
it was.
Murphy talking about.
I have no.
You get that, your dick falls off. I think was his joke.
Yeah, it was from Raw, I believe.
It was from Raw. Yeah.
Oh, that was such forbidden fruit when we were growing up.
It really was, and it's so. Looking back now, sadly, how tame it is compared to the stuff.
Oh, it's almost nothing now. I mean, it's still it's raunchy, but it's nothing like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of somebody. Even like Kevin Hart's act is more raunchy most of the time. Well, anyway, the point here is this can lead to. So this one you can get from a scratch is all it takes. And it can lead to severe brain damage and even death. The virus is transmitted by these monkeys through bite, scratches, or contact with their bodily fluids.
Ooh, so sex too. Don't have sex with the Rhesus macaques.
Yeah, or spit, or
a scratch fight, or
don't make out with them.
Don't have a little Thunderdome going on with the Rhesus macaques.
No, be careful down there, you guys. We worry about Florida in lots of ways, but in this way, I really do. Also,
Claire clarifies it. We just got it clarified for us. 1 is cold sores, 2 is genital lumpy bumps. But it doesn't explain what B, A and B, and that sort of thing.
So Simplex 1 and 2 are those.
That's what it was. Simplex 1 and 2. Okay.
That makes sense. B, I assume there's a A.
Yeah.
Because if there's a B,
it's got to be like hepatitis B, right? Like the same, where not, obviously not related, but named that way for the same reasons that there's a hepatitis A and hepatitis B.
There's no connection. For some reason, when I hear herpes, I think about scurvy. That's not connected to this, right? That's not enough vitamin C or something.
Right, exactly. That's why British people are nicknamed limeys, because they on the ships they brought the limes with them to stave off scurvy.
That's right.
Because the citrus was.
Because it's a pirate thing. It's like a maritime 1700s deal.
I think so. Yeah.
All right. Look at us with a really hot, important information today. Here's another story. This is in Key West, so we're staying in Florida for this. Key West Ice Cream Parlor has a $250 ice cream bar on their menu.
People just do this for the Brian, are you just realizing this? But I mean, it's like they don't really want people to buy this. They want people to talk about it so that it's on the menu. They don't care if anybody buys their $6,000 steak because it's got gold leaf on top. Right. They just want people to talk about it.
I think you're right. I think that if they do sell some, that's a bonus, but the real investment here is exposure.
Is publicity, exactly.
Almost always. And here we are helping them have it, I guess. That's what we're doing.
We're doing their work for them. Fine, we'll do it.
Now, funny enough, it references the very first line of the story. It references an Eddie Murphy bit, which we were just talking about in a totally different context.
From that same, it was either from Raw or from Delirious, right? Where I got some ice cream. I got some ice cream.
Yep, that's what they're referring to here. But I can't afford it, that whole thing.
Because you're on welfare. Yeah.
It says, but in this real life, it's here in Florida. Key West Ice Cream Parlor, Doozy Bespoke Ice Cream Bar.
Ugh. Bespoke.
I hate the word bespoke. I hate it. I really hate it.
I think it's fine for handmade greeting cards or stuff that's embroidered and stuff like that. But I don't, the whole bespoke ice cream.
Bleh.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I hate the term. It just doesn't. It's one of those words too that just bugs me, like laboratory or.
Right.
I don't know what else. I can't think of anything. A gymnasium. I hate them. Anyway, this bespoke ice cream bar, there in Key West, they have the most expensive ice cream in the world. It's called the Toak Bar or Toak Bar. Toak Bar. I don't know. There's a
it's almost like
could be just
Inuk,
toque.
like it's written in Inuk or something.
Oh, right, because it could be.
But Key West,
Toak.
Probably not a big Inuit crowd there.
$250 price tag if you want one, and at Doozy's, they'll make you one custom to order. First, by using their luxury vanilla bar, and then that sounds like a thing I'd wash myself with in the shower.
Right.
Dipping the bar into a premium chocolate coating. Next up, the bartender picks up a Hermes spoon to scoop up the shaved morsels.
It's pronounced Hermes.
Is it Hermes?
Spoon.
It's not
Hermes.
I want it to be Hermes.
It's not Hermes. No, it's Hermes.
Even though that spells Hermes?
Even though it's spelled Hermes, yeah.
Oh, English mixed with other old languages. What have you done to us?
Yeah. Unless you're talking about the messenger, that's Hermes. But
Hermes, the Greek.
Hermes.
He was played by Paul Schaefer in the Disney movie.
In Hercules.
Hercules, yeah. I love that they got Paul Schaefer for that. I thought that was great.
Yeah, that's great.
Anyway,
listen,
Hercules, babe. Hey, babe.
You're killing it.
Hermes. Is that how you said?
Hermes
spoon to scoop up the shaved morsels of the most expensive and rarest chocolate in the world, Toak chocolate, and places it right on the bar. When they cover the bar with edible 24K gold leaf, there's the gold again, to top off with sugar diamonds. Okay.
Sugar diamonds.
Did they take this right off the menu? They probably did.
Probably, yes.
What a bunch of mishmash.
It's hilarious that the cost of this stupid thing even includes the use of an Hermes spoon.
Yeah. Like, who brings that up unless you're trying to just fill us full of crap?
And the server will be wearing Givenchy shoes and Lancome perfume.
Mm-hmm. Here's what the owner says. If customers do not have the big bucks to spend on that bar, this place is filled with unique Wonka-like wonders for everyone, including a $3.50 cup of frozen yogurt for you that you can make a doozy bar or you can make a doozy bar one of the favorites. That's weird. Which is a Mr. Beast chocolate almond bar. Ooh, another internet sensation.
Influencer, yeah.
Yeah. That guy.
Doesn't he? He does good stuff, doesn't he? Though I mean, as
YouTubers go,
I think I rolled my eyes at a Mr. Beast thing, and then Tristan's like, "Well, yeah, he did this whole, $250,000. I'm gonna do the Squid Game myself, do the Squid Games myself with contestants."
Yeah.
But then he ended up giving some of the money to charity. And it's like, come on, do enough to make me hate the guy. Don't do stuff like.
He does stuff where he goes overseas and gets people surgeries he can't get in.
Yeah,
normally
exactly.
And things like that.
That's the kind of person I'd like to be if I was, a rich TikTok, YouTube, whatever influencer dude, but still.
Yeah. I forget what his follower account is, but he's got the #1 subscription total on YouTube and probably everywhere else. But yeah, the guy's huge. Like,
he's huge.
Freaking
and
people
and he's doing good stuff. So how can
Claire?
It's jealousy, I'm sure.
Claire says it's all drug money. Says Claire. I'm sure that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure it's all drug money.
Yeah, it's like this Mexican restaurant I go to up the street. They're just laundering for the cartels. I just know it. That's going to do it for today's news. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we will have some time with my sister, Wendi. She's got some stuff to talk about. We talked about shadowing or the shadow stuff some weeks ago. We got a follow-up to that. So we're going to discuss that after this break.
Let's legitimize this this business that we got going on here.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, we were talking about that supernatural vibe in a kind of country westernish feel. You still haven't watched Outer Range yet, have you?
It's cute. It's in my permanent queue. I just still haven't watched it, but I want to.
Yeah. Oh God, get on it because that is so up your alley. It might as well be labeled Scott Johnson Street.
Wow, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I knew I was going to be. I mean, everything about it looks like it's my kind of thing. And I love Thanos, and I love those actors, and the other guy from...
Right. Roland's great, and what's her face from Say Anything is great, and just this whole supernatural element is great. It's
that Schitt's Creek
it's
guy's
great.
real
It's
good.
great, Scott. It's great.
It's great. Well, what I'm getting from this conversation is that it's great, so I'm going to watch
it. It's great.
it.
Yeah. Have I mentioned that it's great? Okay, well, let's get into this.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, this is so good. You guys are in for a treat if you're listening to the recorded version of the show. Sorry, live people. We love you more, but you're not getting this. This is some trip hop for you, some instrumental trip hop. So the godfather of down tempo and trip hop is this guy named Eric Hilton, and he's got a brand new album that just came out called Sound Vagabond. He's released a few singles from it. This is some kick-ass trip hop right here. Letting you know, this is the first of the singles. It is Midnight Milan. Believe me, you're going to hear this and you're going to want to hear more and more and more of it. Here's Eric Hilton and Midnight Milan.
Hello, what planet are you living on? Do you need mental help? Do you need to go and see the doctor?
Many Faces becomes demon possessed by drinking a magical potion that Skeletor gives him.
And we've returned. Tell me who that was one more time, please.
That was Eric Hilton. He's got a brand new album called Sound Vagabond. It's actually coming out February 23rd. So you're just going to get the first 3 singles right now, but that's enough to get you well and satiated or until the album comes out. That's the first of the 3 singles. It's called Midnight Milan. Check out more music by Eric Hilton. And big thanks to Clarion Call Records for sending me that one.
That's awesome. That's I mean, they're always good, these middle of the show songs. So
they are. Well,
like
thank you.
Even that cool techno thing yesterday, which I
loved
was that
great?
Yeah, I loved it. That was really good.
I try to mix it up and like have, here's something that's a little bit more pop, but here's something that's like more industrial or EDM when this trip hop stuff.
Yeah, I like to mix things up, baby. All right, check this out. Oh, hi.
I'll explain the situation to Wendi. Don't worry.
Hi, it's Wendi, everyone. Look who it is. It's Wendi, who never likes to come into the show and not be acknowledged right away. She has to say hi.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. I've got things to do, people to see, people to help.
It's all right. It's what we get. Hey, we got a question to ask you before we get into this thing today. It came up earlier about kind of our childhood roles and when maybe you thought you were going to be well geared to be to specialize in what you do now.
Yeah. When did you know that you were good at this whole that you wanted to go into this whole therapy thing?
Yeah. When was that? If you had to guess, because I feel like it happens when you're younger and you were always the one that was like not a peacemaker, but you were pragmatic in a way that nobody else seemed to be. So if we were in a long hot drive to Lake Powell and Tara's being a nightmare and Dad's cranky and Mom's irritated and blah blah blah, Wendi always seemed to be the pragmatic one about, well, now here's what we have to do before we can get there. And even when you were young, I felt like that. So I could be applying just my own memory to this, and that's why I think you ended up where you ended up. But maybe there is an official answer. So what is it?
Oh, that's interesting. It's actually something I grapple with a little bit because I find it really fascinating how people do the jobs they do. Because there's usually, I don't know, some fun psychological tie to it. And that's not always the case, but like, someone's deep need for stability is going to probably be drawn to something that seems stable and they stay there whether they like it or not, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I find it really fascinating. And I've met some of the weirdest people I know are therapists. So sometimes I'm like, oh no, am I unaware of why I do this? So I grapple with a little bit, but to be honest, this story is actually pretty dumb. I just remember, like, I just always really liked school and it was fun, and I like people. Those two fundamental things probably helped in this regard. But when I was in college, I did political science because I love that, and then I ended up choosing psychology because it was fast and I was poor, so I wanted to be done fast.
Yeah.
And then, like, I liked it. I wouldn't say I had the best classes. It wasn't like I met any professor and I was like, this is it. But I finished and I graduated, and remember that family friend of ours, Scott, Michelle Dare?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, she was great.
She was like my basketball coach, kind of like a mentor before I knew people had mentors. She was awesome. And she worked at the University of Utah in the Social Research Institute. And she had a PhD in social work. And she hired me to do these interviews. So I would go around to people's houses and interview them for, this is wonky and going back in the day, but I don't know if you remember the TANF block grants that Clinton passed in the 90s. Essentially, basically kicking people off welfare if they weren't engaged in job-seeking activities. The overall success of that program is very questionable. But at the time, I was looking at what made people resilient, and then kind of also diagnosing some depression. Like, hey, you're being forced to work and search for work for 3 to 4 months, or then suddenly you're without benefits. Anyway, I'm going too into the weeds, but I'm in these people's houses. I'm doing all these interviews and like loving it. It's really interesting. And then I got to know all these people at the U, and she's like, "Why don't you do grad school?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess I will."
Yeah. And then you did.
And I did. And I really, the whole time in grad school, I was planning on doing policy and just kind of poverty issues, and sort of, I was interested in all that stuff. And then all of my training was like clinical, like my practicals were clinical. And I was like, well, I guess I'm okay at this. And then suddenly this is my life.
Yeah. That's interesting. I was part of me thought, I was a little nervous you were going to say, well, there was this, here's where it started. There was this time my brother chased me through the house with a hot soldering iron. I thought it was hot.
Well, that maybe was related.
That's good to hear. No, that's interesting because I don't think I've ever really talked to you about that before. So it's a fun
Well, and I
little-
think Dad was always so intrigued by people. Like he spent a lot of time really talking to people and liked them. And I always felt like I have a little of that. Like I just think people are great and are interesting. And so it kind of came together. But then there are days where I'm like, did I even sign up for this? I don't know.
Like, it's probably like anything, right? You just have those days. I get that.
Yeah.
Well, we're
You're
glad
like,
you did what you did because
what are we
now you're here doing it. But
That's right.
yeah, it's so funny because like personality wise, sense of humor wise, and a lot of other ways, Wendi and I are like almost identical in some ways. But there's this one part of us that is so different, and it's her analytical thing versus my arty farty thing, right? And it's weird because it's the one thing, like we'll laugh at the same stupid jokes. You'll say things on this show that people are like, oh my gosh, that may as well have been Scott who said that. Like that happens all the time. But there's that one weird bit that separates us. And, and we're surrounded by Koreans our whole lives. We're the only real blood siblings. Well, my brother's a half blood sibling, but Wendi and I are the only full blood siblings. And we have a really interesting cultural milieu that we grew up in. So it always felt like, oh yeah, it's normal and natural that Wendi and Scott are kind of on the same page all the time. They're kind of the same person in a lot of ways. But I hated school. You loved school. You find hard people interesting. They drive me crazy. Like there's these one or two little areas, and I think it's that's where we separated, or that's where we not separated, but that's where it became clear that we were going to have very different endpoints to our lives. So.
And then to satisfy the universe or the gods that with all their sense of humors, I have to raise you in my child. Let me just. Right. So we have a term for it. It's called a Pete NATO. So what is Pete? What is Pete currently doing? And you guys, this is what he's currently doing. He has a class where his assignment is to program a choose your own adventure game. Which, by the way, how is that school? But
I know,
anyway.
right?
Are you kidding me? That is teaching a skill. That's like
I know
being able to go into programming. Wish Mike's school would have.
I think that's your point, right? That's your whole
pretty
point.
amazing.
Yeah. Okay. So, gotcha. Okay.
It's like giving a tool to a scary person. Anyway, okay, so he's going to make, so he says, he's like, at just dinner, we're like, oh yeah, what are you excited about? And he's like, oh yeah, for this class, I got to program a choose your own adventure. Pretty basic. And then he uses a bunch of words I've never heard. And then he says, the trolley problem? And I'm like, what?
Oh, wow.
He goes, my choosing my own adventure is the trolley problem. I'm like,
oh, that's hilarious.
Build a game where someone chooses to run over one person or chooses to run over 5 people and kill them.
Wow.
And he goes, he's like, yeah. And he goes, and I got like 10 scenarios. And we had to convince him to make it like trolley gummy worms and that you run over one gummy worm.
Hilarious. Okay.
Because he's like, funny. I was like, first of all, you can't, this is too gory. He's like, I'm trying to figure out how to. Anyway, it was just very funny.
Yeah, I mean, what happens when you get to the page? Oh, if you chose to run over one person, one gummy worm, go to page 392 or whatever it is in the video game. You ran over it. Congratulations, you made that choice.
Yeah.
So
that
disturbing.
happened.
Yeah.
It's disturbing. And also, I'd give you a picture of his room. He'd kill me though, but his room, Scott, probably looks like your room.
Yeah.
If someone didn't come and clean it for you, I mean, it's so it's fun. But
I had the worst rooms growing up. This is totally true what you're saying. Oh my gosh.
I know.
All right, you're raising her. I got to. You know what? In a lot of ways, I raised you with Taylor. She's just like you in tons of ways. So we're just switching off. It's fine.
I know.
Isn't
that weird though? That whole thing is.
It is weird.
It's so weird, but it's good and it's good. It's good. But I think school is a structure that just doesn't work for your brain.
Yeah.
And I think for me, school was just like a place to meet people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was really fun that way. And then, like I could just figure out what teachers wanted and give it to them. Like that wasn't hard for me. Where you, I think, were like.
Yeah. And you were the one that, you were reading whole books out loud in your room and you know, just always studying and always like, oh, homework done, already done. And then you'd be out goofing off with your friends or whatever. And I would be like, I don't want to do it. And I'd spend days trying to talk myself out of doing it.
You spend more time lamenting it and avoiding it than just doing it.
Yeah, I should have just done it. Basically, that's what my mom would say. And I used to hate that, but that's exactly true. So anyway, well, that's a fun look under the hood, everybody, of how this all works.
And it actually relates to what we're going to talk about.
Oh, it does it? Interesting.
A little bit.
All right. Well, I'm going to read it. This is something Wendi got. This is in relation to the whole my shadow thing we talked about not long ago. And it is from somebody we'll call Self-Sabotaging S. Or no, we can say it because it's not their real name because I said it in parentheses. Self-Sabotaging Susan. It's not the person's real name. Dear Wendi, I've been struggling with recurring patterns of self-sabotage in my romantic relationships. Despite genuinely desiring connection and intimacy, I find myself pushing partners away after a while and creating unnecessary conflicts to facilitate our demise. That is a dark sentence. It's as if there's a self-destructive force at play and I'm left bewildered by my own actions. You talked about the shadow on a recent show. I'm wondering if that is what I'm experiencing. How might the aspects of, quote, my shadow, unquote, be influencing these destructive patterns? And is there a way to navigate through this to create healthier connections? I'm eager to understand how exploring and addressing my shadow might offer insights into breaking this cycle and fostering more meaningful relationships. Help and thank you, says Self-Sabotaging Susan. All right. I bet a lot of people can relate to this one. I can, early in my life anyway.
Oh, really?
Oh, I'm the big idiot.
With your relationships?
I'm the biggest idiot in the world. We were engaged. We were 2-3 months away from the wedding.
Oh, right.
And I called Kim and said, I don't know if I'm ready for this. It's just cold feet. But I was just like, I don't know if I can do it. I had all these plans. I had the stuff I wanted to do. And I don't know if I can do it. And she said, fine, and hung up on me. And I realized then that I had to get her back. I was like,
I love that was her reaction, because if she had kind of fought back and said, no, you got to go through with this, pushing back on you might have like pushed you the wrong direction, pushed you away further, as opposed to like, oh crap, she's gone. No, this ain't right. Oh, turn around, undo.
100%. She would have been, if she would have broken down and cried or something, it would have had it would have had an effect on me where I would have used that as justification. But instead I went, oh my gosh.
Emotion. Good. I got out when I did.
Yeah. And for me, it was like, nope, this is a personality you need in your life. Why are you pushing this person away? And I immediately regretted it. And she even went on another date just to piss me off. And then it all worked out in the end. But yeah, like that was the moment I knew she was the one I had to marry, was when I tried to get out of it. It was funny that you have to do that sometimes. But anyway, I'm sure people in our audience can relate to this sort of feeling, though. Feeling like maybe you're the one self-sabotaging everything. And maybe they are, maybe they're not. So Wendi, what do you want to do with Susan and anyone else?
Well, first of all, Susan, thank you for giving me my much dreamed about shadow email. I've been just waiting for someone because it's a really fun topic, which I'll get into in a second. But I just want to start with the established pattern of it. So when Scott, your story's great and interesting and a one-off.
Yeah.
Meaning you haven't then gone through and married 20 times and continue to destroy your relationships without knowing why, right? So we all make mistakes and we're all learning. You kind of navigate adolescence and early adulthood with like, how does this whole relationship thing work? And usually it's not till you're a little older. Susan didn't say how old they are, but usually there's enough like baggage and bodies strewn that you're like, I have a pattern. I have a self-sabotaging. And there's maybe not the details, but I'm going to fill in some, so maybe they fit, maybe they don't, but this might resonate with people. Sometimes when things are going really well, that's your biggest clue that you're a self-sabotager, is if something is actually going well and you just cannot handle the happiness, it working out or things feeling good. There's something going on there that just doesn't, you have to blow it up. Right. A great example, I was talking to a client earlier just about their relationship with their mother. And as the client is getting healthier and detangling themselves from this relationship and the toxic stuff that goes on between her and her mother, she's able to see what's happening, which is this idea of, oh, if I don't engage in the fight, my mom does not know what to do. And so she has to get bigger and louder, or, hey, we had a really good day. And at the end of the day, she has to drop a bomb to ruin what happened. And when you can have enough space to back up and see it, someone else self-sabotaging, you're like, oh, that makes sense. When it's ourselves, it's a little harder because we're just in our feelings. We're just in our experience. And like, yeah, I don't know if this person's good for me. And maybe you're talking yourself out of the healthiest relationship you've ever had, or you are constantly seeking dysfunctional relationships and can't figure out why.
Right.
Those are self-sabotaging as well. Often this can happen at work. You sort of just blow a presentation that's supposed to be the chance for you to advance, or, you can find lots of ways of where we just, sort of drop the ball or break something up when it might've been better for us to do that. Okay. Right. So let's get into, how do you understand this? First of all, it really helps to have someone outside of you, because it is hard to do this internally. But if you just got you, maybe talk in the mirror. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through just a little bit of what the shadow is and what Carl Jung is about, and, kind of give you a foundation to that, and then talk about how you actually do a little shadow work. That's what we call it. Okay. So essentially, Carl Jung is a contemporary of Freud. He's a little younger than him. He died after him. I think he died in 1961, and Freud died in, 50s, 30s.
Yeah, 50s, right?
58, something like that.
Oh, there's a new movie about that. Hannibal Lecter, I can't think of his name all of a sudden. Anthony Hopkins is Freud's, and it's Freud's last session, and he did it with C.S. Lewis. There's a whole people are raving about this thing. Yeah, I'm very excited. Anyway,
very cool. Okay, so he did die in 1939. So he
30s. Geez. Okay.
Yeah. So he died in 39. Born in 56. Whereas Jung was born in 75 and died in 61. So he was past him a little bit. Both Austrian, Swiss area. A lot of the birth of this comes from that region. Good job, everybody. Anyway, and so he made huge contributions. I would argue he's one of the big three in that era. And so really groundbreaking, cool stuff. And he made some switches from what Freud kind of focused on. And we like to joke about what Freud was all about, but there's some fun differences. And really, Jung kind of brought in more the idea of collective unconsciousness. So we get the ideas. Freud kind of brought about some of that personal unconscious, your id, your ego, that kind of stuff, right? Whereas Jung was a little bigger, like, ooh, there's these big things we all experience. And that's like sometimes when we're on the show here, we talk about a topic and everyone's like, oh, it resonates, right? I mean, how does it resonate with every one of us? Well, it's because it has some universal experience or archetype going on. So Jung talked a lot about archetypes. So, and I've mentioned this on the show before, we have like the archetype of the perfect mother or the perfect father, or the archetype of, what love is supposed to be. It's this idea, and anything we get less than that ideal feels like loss, right?
Like a template kind of thing that you're always trying to achieve. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And somehow we all share it without having talked about it, which is kind of cool. Yeah. And so his work on the unconscious is really about potential for growth and creativity. And so there's some cool things about that, like especially when you're in a really dark place or moods are not, you don't feel awesome. And sometimes you can be more creative in some of that space. So these are early days of him sort of talking about creativity and some of these dark parts of us. Yeah. And it's like an untapped potential, right? He kind of saw this in this very positive way, which is really cool. Whereas Freud was just like, you're repressed, look at me. I'm now making fun of Freud. Okay. And then this idea of repression, Jung really saw that as it was a defense mechanism, and it keeps us from seeing parts of our psyche that we are just not ready to see. And I would argue from my experience with people, this is so real, that our brain has this incredible function to just hide something we can't handle from us until we can handle it. So my favorite thing in therapy is when somebody's like some dark shadow parts show up and they can see it. And, I'm with them and we work through it and they're okay. But I already know it's safe enough to be there because their brain let them have it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's really, really fun to witness.
Is that, I mean, you always hear about repressed feelings or thoughts or experiences. Somebody went through some trauma and then blocked it out entirely.
Yeah.
That is literally your brain saying, you can't handle this right now. So
no, you can't see this.
To protect you, we're going to hide this back here.
Yeah.
And some people
so
think
often,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say a lot of people think it's crap. They think people are lying or faking it or whatever. But that is a real physiological thing, right? Blocking out things.
And here's what I love. I would love to know why someone would think that's crap. And it's probably because one of two things. One, they've just never experienced it. So it's just like, I don't believe things I haven't experienced, which is weird. Yeah. The second being, that's really feels out of control, like scary to you to think, hey, that, and people think everyone else is attention seeking when really for them that's actually what they think. They think if they did something like that, it would be attention seeking, right? So it actually says more about them, right? Or like, I'd just be interested in like, whoa, how can you not imagine this happening? And when I see it in real life, like all the time, it's really fascinating. So, when someone has something dawn on them in front of you, right? That feeling like, oh, that's right. They kind of light up and there's just like a facial experience that they have. It's like that times 20 where they're just like, like, because it's like the door opens and their brain goes, yeah, this thing happened. Right. Or and it's often, let's be clear, we're not talking about, there is some suppression of memory and it's fuzzy or some different things and you don't quite know that you can mess around and make some guesses. This is a different sort of principle that's actually occurring. It's like two wires cross that have not been allowed to cross and it's mechanical. I can't describe it any other way. And so, you can fish around and try to make up a story about a vague memory. That's like a different thing. Maybe people are thinking it is. This really is something quite different. And so Jung saw that as potential and this like amazing way the brain is managing sort of Buckethead. Freud just saw it as like, oh, it's just managing trauma. It's managing bad experiences, right? Which, on some extent is true. But Jung had this very much like when they're ready and they can integrate it, they are going to grow in leaps and bounds. Like it's a growth model, which I really like.
By the way, can I just point out that is one of our similarities. When you couldn't remember Freud's name at first, you went ahead and landed on Buckethead. I do that with everything I can't think of. And I love it. Anyway, sorry, continue.
You also say Buckethead, the exact word?
Oh, I say Buckethead all the time. Sometimes it's something mix something. I just make it up. Just make it up on the fly. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
I don't even hear myself say Buckethead ever. And so sometimes people are like, oh, you just said Buckethead when I'm like talking about someone we should be nice about. It's a problem. Anyway, so psychoanalyze that. Okay. All right. The other just couple things really quick. The concept of instinct, Freud was very much like everything is sexual or aggressive instincts. Those are our primary drivers, right? Yeah. He really reduced us all to those things. Whereas Jung, really, it's beyond that to the archetypes, the shadow, and just broader human stuff. So it's just growth, right? You got Freud, and then Jung came along and made it better. Anyway, and then my favorite part about his stuff is just about how it's a developmental concept of individuating as a person, and it's a lifelong thing to be your true and unique self.
Right.
So just always growth oriented, right? Like, but this shadow work is really crucial to that. So think about somebody, could be yourself, could be someone else, who just feels like they are not growing up. Like it drives you crazy. You're like, you are 45. How have you not? Why are you throwing a fit like you're a teenager? Or some version of like seeming developmentally stuck. I'm assuming you guys know people like this.
Yeah, probably. I mean, and you're not talking about, hey, I can't believe at age 45 you still like the Power Rangers. It's not like that. You're saying like, they act like they act like petulant 17-year-olds or act like junior
Right.
high kids or
Right.
on an
There
emotional
just
level.
doesn't seem to be the maturing. Like, who's the adult in this story? You should be, but you're not. It can kind of just feel like that, or they're creating problems that you're like, what? There's no need to respond this way. It just finds that, a petulant 17-year-old would act exactly like that. And so it's a little confusing, right? So that kind of stuff is, that's maybe the most frequent version you'll see walking around. Then you have I keep marrying the wrong men and keep ending up in these same terrible circumstances. Or I cannot keep the job that is my dream job. What keeps happening here? What is happening, right? So that's more of the average person's experience with sort of these underlying things going on for them, the unconscious, or what we're going to call the shadow. Okay, so let me just tell you real quick what the shadow is. Okay, when I say the shadow or shadow work, first of all, what do you guys picture?
Well,
I picture a physical, actual shadow, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, same. Yeah. I said the thing on the wall behind me because the sun's shining that way. That's what I think of.
Yeah. Okay. So, and if you think about that, you can see your shadow if you look at it. Mm-hmm. But if you are looking other directions, the light is in a particular place and then the shadow is behind you, you don't really pay attention to it. You don't see it, right? Mm-hmm. And like a kid and their shadow is the kind of energy you want to bring to actual shadow work, which is really curious. Like, what is this? Can I step on this? Ooh, it's tucked in my foot, or, whatever, right? Just paying attention to it, right? So Carl's theory, I'm calling him Carl now.
Carl Jung. Yeah, Carl.
Sure,
Carl.
why not?
Jung's theory is basically that the shadow represents the unconscious and repressed aspects of our personality. So each person's stuff, right? So these elements are often inconsistent with that person's self-image, right? And so, for example, I think I'm a good person. Okay, so it's usually not consistent with that. And it may include qualities, desires, emotions that are considered socially unacceptable, morally objectionable, or personally like, blah, right? Like it's the dark stuff. And so and they stay usually shadowed or closeted or, denied.
Hidden, repressed.
Yeah. Right. Repressed because you can't, there's no way to integrate that who you need to be a good person and everyone respects, but you've got this dark side to you that no one gets to see. So you hide it, you deny it. Right. And in that state, man, it's where people make a lot of dumb choices and behave in ways that don't make a lot of sense. Because that effort to keep the shadow as a shadow, messes with things. So often I think about, and maybe we've talked about this on the show before, I know we have, but people whose like public persona is like terribly inextricably connected with their shadow stuff. And then we all see it, Yeah. So it was the lady who started Mothers Against Drunk Driving and then eventually became a board member of Budweiser. And you're like, what?
What? I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. Or the girl who started the teen abstinence program around the country, was like the face of it, got pregnant at 16.
Yeah.
So it's like that. Like thou doth protest too much.
Yeah, it's a favorite of Scott's.
One of my most hated things about people when Wendi, this is probably a bad thing, and maybe one day we'll talk about it. But my automatic assumption when somebody is over talking about a thing that they're really into, and I don't mean things they like, I mean things they tell other people they should do or how they should live.
Yeah.
I never trust it. As soon as I hear like a preacher going, gays and drugs, they're the worst things, I am like, yeah, I know what you're up to on the weekends.
Yeah, can't wait until we get the news story of finding you in a hotel room with a male prostitute and covered with cocaine.
Yeah, covered with a bag of weed in your back pocket and 4 pounds of freaking meth. Like it always happens, or not always, happens a lot, and I hate it. So
and that's when you get caught, right?
Yeah.
Often it is maybe more subtle than that, or insidious than that, and it comes out in lots of different ways. Yeah, totally. That's a perfect example of the shadow allowing, not exploring the shadow, not understanding and not doing any of that work means it comes out sideways and poisons things. It just does, right?
Right.
And you have to, your public persona has to double down to manage the darkness of that shadow, right? And it's shame management, it's embarrassment management, it's self-loathing management, right? So you're all this energy to manage this shadow. And I'm going to tell you, there's a really simple answer, and that is to work with your shadow. Now, I say simple, but really hard, right? Because that means really looking at stuff. And, you know, most of us are built to not do that. Literally, our brain teaches us, has a chemical, biological underlying mechanism that locks us out of that stuff we can't handle, right?
So it's a matter of like even acknowledging your shadow exists, which a
lot of people don't do.
Number one, right? Yeah. Like number one. Have you met anyone who has said, "Oh, I'm doing shadow work"? Like, has this ever been in a conversation? You guys
not that I can think of. Like shadow, I've heard of shadow boxing. I've heard of shadow puppetry. But other than that,
all the things you've heard.
Yeah, I've never heard anybody go, "Oh, today's the day I'm wrestling with my shadow."
Doing some shadow,
I'm working on my shadow. Yeah. Well, they're hidden on a bus in a middle school field trip, because I'm telling you right now, Adam was on a bus with all these parents chaperoning, and he looks over and the guy's got a book by Adler, who is the third big wig of the 19th century in psychology. And Adam's like, "Oh, what do you read, Mel?" He's like, "Oh, well, I've been thinking of the shadow." It was amazing. This guy's like a real estate agent. And Adam's like, "Okay, I was not expecting this conversation."
Wow.
It was awesome. Yeah. So I'm telling you, there are people working on their shadow, but maybe aren't saying it out loud. Okay. So the idea, though, and this is what the work would kind of look like, right? You essentially, so a therapist, Jungian therapist specifically, their job is to do shadow work, help an individual explore and integrate these hidden aspects into their lives. And that fosters self-awareness. They can then develop and grow. There's not that stuckness anymore. And so by embracing the shadow, they basically can have a more balanced, authentic personality. It's actually the crappy parts about people's personality are often, now I'm making this more holistic, there's other factors here, but often can be this dynamic, right? Someone who is bragging,
right,
and you're just like, they're the most annoying person because they're always bragging.
Yeah.
Is that a born-in trait? No. That is a response to something, right?
Yeah.
Either a defense of their shadow or basically them going the other direction, doubling down in the other direction from something.
Yeah.
Right. Or your childhood experience that makes you really self-conscious and uncomfortable in this situation. And so you need people to like you. And so you do the thing that makes no one
Defensive
like
criticism or things like that.
Yeah, totally. Okay. So that's the idea of why you would work with your shadow, right? And so if anyone's in therapy who's listening, just ask your therapist to do a little shadow work with you. You probably really should get a Jungian psychologist to help you, but most people are familiar with kind of this idea, right? And so so Brian, you were saying the existence of it at its very core is a big deal for some people to even realize, right? And to recognize how it's formed can be helpful, which is usually your experience being socialized and your own personal experience. So where you grew up, who you grew up around, all of that background information really plays a part in what is going on with your shadow. I have this great client who has some scrupulosity, and he's so fun to work with because he grew up in a home with zero like religious trauma, not like essentially lots of space to just do whatever he wanted. And then he has this scrupulosity, and we like to joke that he was raised, as an altar boy. Like he has that deep, his shadow is always just trying to keep him from trying to look at his shadow. It means it blocks it from seeing anything in there that's dark. And so your socialization could look like, oh, this makes sense. I was the son of a preacher, so this is why I'm hiding all of my porn or whatever it might be, right? Or not at all. It could be something completely different, but that socialization plus your own experiences and your natural processes will create whatever your shadow is, right?
Yeah.
And so real quick, the shadow is not all negative. I should also mention, sometimes it's got negative and positive aspects. usually we're focused on the undesirable stuff, but it can also have hidden talents, desires, positive potential, right?
Can you use it as a
example of that?
Yeah,
Like,
what's a good example of that? That's a great question.
Me and my artistic ability, right? I don't have a lot of shame about it because like I don't identify with it very much, but honestly, like I really like sketching, and I do it every day, and I think I'm terrible, and then sometimes my kids find it and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is so good! Who did this?" I'm like, not me.
Yeah, almost everyone I know who thinks they're a terrible artist has something in them that they just think is terrible, but is fine, is good.
Exactly. And so maybe we keep that hidden, or I just told all of you. But like,
it's out now.
It's because now, what if Scott, you were just like, well, I'm secretly a therapist, and you're like, but I have no way to say that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be weird.
It would be weird.
So, but for it to be a positive thing, you've got to be well more aware of it. Nobody's got like a shadow that they're repressing that is a positive. It's more like you consciously hide it if you
not necessarily. Really? It could be somewhat conscious, but it could also just be avoidant, like I don't know. I think we kind of are drawn to some stories of people who are like their talents are discovered accidentally.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to sing. No, don't make me sing. And then they turn out to be Karen Boyle or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what you know what it is for me? It's like maybe this is a good example, maybe it isn't, so you have to tell me. But growing up, we had some moments of real financial trouble in the family. My dad lost his business. We had to sell the boat, the motorhome, the house got taken. We had to go on a sort of a local form of welfare for a while. It was like rough, and I was in high school. I was 15 or something, 14, and it was hard, especially because we were in this very, I say affluent, but it was a nice neighborhood, big houses, everybody's successful, whatever, and then all of that gets torn away. You get to kind of see who your real friends are, blah blah blah. And I remember, I've told the story on the show before, but we had somebody in a religious capacity say to my dad, well, this is all happening because there's something about your life you're not living right or something. And I heard that story and it never left me to this day. That is like a burning hot example of terrible behavior. It also came from the same guy that lost his business a year later and committed suicide. So there's a whole story there. But anyway, another doth protest too much moment. But those things were so like brightly lit moments in my life that it's a shadow in a negative way, but it's very motivating, and it's why I never ask anyone for help. It's why I think it spawned independence, maybe to a detriment in some ways. I don't like to ask for help ever, and there are times where I need it and won't acknowledge it or won't accept it. And it's with simple stuff. If we move house, which we've done a few times in our marriage, we don't tell anyone usually, and we just move. we pack it ourselves, we load it ourselves, and then sometimes someone will muscle their way in there, and then I feel guilty that they're helping, but I don't ask for it. And some people have no problem going, hey, help me move this pea mattress on a Saturday morning. I can't do it, right? I just can't do it. And I don't know. I think it came from that because I never, ever want to be on anyone's charity.
Right.
I hate the idea. So in some ways, that's been a real positive thing in my life because it's spawned a lot of independence and me going, I can do this and I can do it without anyone's help, and I will do it without anyone's help. There's that positive aspect to it, but there are negatives to it where, when help is needed,
you overwork yourself because you won't accept help.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like that happens, and I'm usually left going, well, crap. Why did this happen? And I realize, well, it's because you won't let anyone help. And so it's got both sides. But is that what you're talking about? Is that kind of, it's a thing that can be positive in some ways, and in other ways it's a detriment?
Yeah. Yes. But think about it as more like, this about yourself. So it's not in your shadow in the same way.
That's true.
Something like, so for example, if you refused help at every turn and your life kept falling apart because of it, and it wasn't until you stopped and went, I got to get some help. Something is wrong. Why do I keep doing this? And then you got to know the shadow, which came from some trauma, and then is in there is hidden pride, is I never want to feel that vulnerable again, or whatever those things are. Then you're looking at it, right?
Yeah.
And in there, maybe you can loosen it up and ask for some help, and then find that your life is better balanced and your community is stronger. And, so the potential for the good is definitely in there. And that's kind of the idea. But the unconscious or unknown of it is, like the email said, it's like, what's going on? Every relationship, I keep doing this. And so that's usually when you're like, all right, what is in this suitcase I'm dragging behind me?
That's
right?
a good point. Sure.
Well, and here's another couple other just things about it that might add to your understanding of it. But like, so projection, we all know this idea of where someone is projecting their own unconscious stuff onto someone else, right? Let's think of a classic example.
Well, projection's one of my favorite things too.
It is. And there's always many, like that basically the idea is that the qualities present in that person's shadow then get it attributed to some other group or individual, kind of like the preacher preaching this and then really doing that stuff on the weekend, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so it would be projecting my shadow. So I am not fully aware of it. I mean, do you think that girl who started the abstinence only program was like, you know what I want to do? I want this to end in flames.
Yeah.
It's not conscious, right? But that is that massive energy to maybe demonize a group or an individual is often because of your own stuff. So you can feel the exact opposite of this. Like think of a group and you just don't have any feelings about the stuff. Like it's just really neutral for you. You can kind of have compassion, like, oh, that's hard for them. Right. Or I bet that's tough to da-da-da. And you're just like, that's the opposite of it's your shadow. That's like, oh, I don't have shadow bits in me that need to hate on that group or need to do whatever. Right. Whatever those things might be. And then when you do have vibes, you're like, oh, there must be something in there for me. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's where just being curious and interested in your own stuff is just so helpful, right? Because what is actually in there? So if you have a bigger reaction than you think you should, that is an example of, there might be some shadow going on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then kind of to summarize, integration is his big goal here in the end, is that you recognize and accept these hidden parts of you without judgment. Like you start to bring them into your awareness and integrate them into your sense of self and concept, right? So take someone who, like sexuality is like the biggest place this probably is. And I do find something really fascinating as gender is definitely more fluid and people's understandings has really changed over time. Folks who really just do not, and this doesn't mean this is everyone, so don't get your panties in a wad. Which are my initials.
Again, name another therapist who will say, don't get your panties in a wad. And I'm telling you, these are the similarities between Wendi and I. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, I shouldn't be allowed to be on
Buckethead
with my voice here. But anyway, the point is that if someone is really struggling with this new concept of gender, someone's trying to explain to them or their own experience, and you just cannot, like you are furious. Like, how dare you think you can just pick whatever you want and say that's what you are and blah, blah, blah. And that kind of energy, if your energy around that's real, real high. Now, that's not, I need to learn. I don't quite understand. This doesn't make any sense to me. When I was a kid, there's a regular version of that. And that's understandable. But the irate, furious version is a good example of, okay, so my question would be something like, what is it you've never been allowed to say that you care about that is really private to you? Maybe it's part of the shadow, right?
Yeah.
That you don't get to just express yourself the way you want to. You were never allowed. No one would love you. Like it would not be safe to even be yourself, let alone say, my pronouns are they. You know what I mean? Like that would never exist for you. Mm. And so it is really painful. And this is that projection thing. It's really painful to see somebody do a thing you could never do.
Yeah.
But you don't have the awareness because it's in the shadow. And so you move things as you do this integration work and you understand this, the growth that comes from this, that's what's so cool about it ultimately is you can bring this raging response to things down to a regular level, and or that self-love and like acceptance of your own stuff is incredibly empowering to let other people have their stuff.
Is that something like when people hear that their friend was part of the debt forgiveness program for college debt relief, and they weren't, and there's that feeling of resentment? Why them, not me? I mean, is that part of this too? Just those basic kind of resentment.
I mean,
moments?
that would kick it in for sure, right?
Yeah.
Because your fear is all your stuff, right?
Right.
And I see myself as a generous person, or I see myself as a good person, and suddenly I have feelings that are so vile towards someone who got debt relief and I didn't. And that doesn't fit. It's the cognitive dissonance that gets created with how my sort of false self, and false self is not the integrated, fully understood whole person. The false self is, I'm a good dad and I play sports with my kids and I never get mad, or whatever you're supposed to think you are, right?
Yeah.
It's when it runs into that, and it'll run into, we could find a million ways that this could run into it. What I always tell people is, like, when you get triggered this way, it can be so overwhelming, you don't know what to do. And so then you go on the internet and scream, or you go avoid life by disappearing into some distraction, or you drink it, or you just don't go into it because it feels too big and overwhelming, right? But when you can start to pull stuff apart and get into the nitty gritty, it can turn into just more curiosity, like, whoa, why did I have that response? And then you have some skills then to go, wow, what is that really about for me? And this is where my personal life and my job really clash. Because sometimes I'm like, I see it in real life and I just want to go, hey, are you curious at looking at that? You know, people are like, listen, we're just at a grocery store. Who are you? You know?
Yeah.
But it feels like, oh, wow, it's so obvious. You can kind of see it in someone else. But am I good at this with myself? No. So let's all be clear. This isn't about anyone is enlightened and does this themselves. It's usually only people who've done this work.
Yeah.
I promise they're not bragging about it in the same way.
Right.
That's why you don't hear about it. I promise you. But there are plenty of people really trying to do shadow work. And then the last final thing I want to say is often it comes out in dreams. And dreams were such a big thing with that era in psychology, right? Like, what do they mean? And really getting into them. And I don't know the history of how dreams have been treated, throughout time, but I'm sure they're weird, right? It's weird.
Oh, yeah.
We lay down.
We ascribe
usually something your subconscious, but I don't know where Scott gets some of the stuff.
Some of my dreams are pretty wacko. But I mean, back in the old days, let's say 1300s, I may ascribe all sorts of things to my dreams, supernatural stuff, or we're all gonna die, or I had a visit from
it's an omen
thing today, or it's God talked to me tonight, when really all I did was eat too much beef before dinner or whatever.
Right. And sometimes it's as simple as like a random downloading of your brain in day's events, and it doesn't have a ton of meaning. But then sometimes they really are, like this client who I was referring to earlier with her mom. Her dream was, she goes, oh, I'm going to tell you a dream, but don't you hate when people tell you dreams? I'm like, no, I love it when they tell me dreams, because it's often in it. But, the dream was every time she went to speak, she couldn't like clear her throat. She had no voice, right? And you're like, wow, it's a little on the nose, right? But it is. It's exactly what she's going through in her life of, I don't know how to actually be seen and use my voice in this relationship. And so your dreams will give it to you. And so sometimes your shadow stuff shows up there. So when you have a dream that you're like, ooh, that is really disturbing. I can't believe I did that in my dream. You're like, is that any bits of my shadow? So anyway, wanted to get in everyone's head before we end here. But,
I like it.
Yeah. So going back real quick to Susan.
Yeah.
So Susan, go get a Jungian therapist and analyze your shadow. Because that self-sabotaging thing might be related to some personality, lack of understanding of yourself. You keep having to have partners come fill in the gaps. And, if you only know yourself in a relationship and then you keep destroying them, whoa, that's saying something, right? So really, I hate to give the advice of go to therapy because, but that's the kind of deeper work. When people really engage in it, just find so much relief from having to live their life sort of trying not to have the shadow or the stuff they are ashamed of, or, not even really knowing who they are affect their life. Because we're like, oh, we should be happy and we should have this, the 2.2 houses and a dog and a cat. I don't know whatever that
2.2 houses
and 5 kids. What is it?
I meant to say picket fence, and they came out 2.2 houses.
I would love
2.2 picket fences. Yes.
I would love 2.2 houses. Yeah, I'd love
sure.
that. That'd be great.
And a cat, and whatever it is for you, right? You think, if I just have that, or whatever you were socialized to think would make you happy, or socialized to who you're supposed to be. I think I give you so much credit for this, Scott, because you paved the way by being yourself. And our parents just had to let you be yourself. And our dad was someone who just needed to be himself, but was very little allowed to do that. And you were much more allowed to do that. And my little psycho 12-year-old is allowed to do that because there is nothing else you can do. You can try to shove someone into a box, but it just makes the shadow bigger and sicker, right? And so my mantra is let everyone just develop into who they are. It's not easy to do, especially when they trigger your stuff, right? So
right. And if they're going to be if they're growing into a serial killer, you can do some things to maybe stop that. But yes, for the most part, don't shove your 12-year-old in a box. That's our lesson today.
Yes, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Poke holes in it first if you do decide to do that.
Oh yeah, they need to breathe. Yeah, and give a little food slot. You can slide some food in. Yeah, all that sort of thing.
They get bologna. Bologna goes right through the.
You just curl it up.
Curl it up right through one of the breathing holes. Perfect. There you go.
I love it.
Maybe that tells you too much about my childhood.
Oh no, he's revealed his whole shadow, the entire length of it. All right. Well, this is good. Susan, we hope this helps. And anyone else out there who's maybe dealing with similar things, look at your shadow, do some shadow work. And Wendi, between now and next week, I hope your shadow is nothing but a happy, singing little happy shadow.
Thanks.
And we'll talk to you then. Bye now.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Walking down the avenue.
Avenue. Do. That's the Shadow song, right?
Yeah, my shadow.
Dude, I picture Steve Martin doing that. Why?
It's certainly in his wheelhouse with his banjo stuff.
Something about it.
I don't know if he did it in Pennies from Heaven or.
It might just be thinking of Pennies from Heaven.
Yeah.
That's probably it.
Ukulele in The Jerk, but he didn't do that one.
No.
In The Jerk.
In The Jerk. I haven't seen The Jerk in a long time.
All
right.
He does that. What was the one? It's the one with great harmonies. Tonight You Belong to Me with Bernadette Peters.
Oh yeah, that's also really good. I don't know what I'm thinking. Oh, you know what I'm thinking of?
Time Bandits.
Time Bandits is correct.
Good job, Jeannie. Yeah.
He's not in it, but
no, Steve Martin.
Nothing to do with Steve Martin.
So. Right, it's the little people doing the dance to distract while they rob everybody blind.
I love that movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here. Quick note, again, Coverville today at noon. So music lovers, you got something to watch at noon. If you're
Footloose lovers, yeah.
Exactly. If you're a Footloose lover, be there. If you're a video game lover, then at the same time, Brian and I usually don't schedule things at the same time. We try not to anyway. But
usually not, yeah.
This one's out of my hands, so I couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of have to do this when it has to happen.
Yeah, I don't choose, unfortunately. But anyway, Word on the Street with Greg Street, myself, and Shanty, their VP of IP, which is fun to say.
IPVP.
Yeah, IVBP is going to be on today at noon as well. We're going to go for about an hour. We're talking about lore, building story, what that's like when you're starting from scratch with a brand new MMO. So check that out here on the channel. Core at 4 p.m. today. Same place, same time as usual, 4 p.m. And Couch Party tomorrow. If you are a patron of TMS, you'll want to tune in for that because we're going to do a complete Firefly rewatch, and we're going to start with episode 1 tomorrow and move from there.
We'll watch one. We'll take a break for a week because we have Couch Party the following week, and we're talking about the 27th, doing it again on a Saturday so more people can be there for a Saturday.
Oh, Playdate, you mean, right? You said Couch Party. Yeah.
Playdate. I'm sorry, Playdate.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, we're doing it on. We did decide Saturday, didn't we?
We did decide Saturday, so 27th Saturday Playdate.
Yep, looking forward to that also. Always fun. Yep.
Yes. I've got something. Me and oh my God, his name, his avatar name just completely went out of my head. But he's the guy, Al Kebab, are working on a Is it Al Kebab? No, I'm not 100% sure. The guy who does all of our interfaces for Half-Asses and Family Feud. We're working on.
That is Al Kebab, right?
I think it's Al Kebab. Yeah. We're working on a derivative of The Floor. You know, the new Rob Lowe game show that I've been talking about. That's so cool. Like,
oh yeah,
it's got a cool premise where you've got 100 people all with a specialty category, and then they have to answer trivia questions and take over territories and spaces. We're looking at a tadpole playable version of it that we could spend an entire play date doing. It won't be for January, but probably February.
Love it.
Yeah.
Let's do that. I love that idea.
It's not complicated at all, Claire. You've got 100 people. They all have a special category. They pick one person at random. They have to pick one of the people around them, and if they beat them in their category, they take over that space. That person's out, and it's just who's got the most space.
And it's basically a battle royale. You're down to one person at the end.
Exactly. One person who's got all the space at the end.
So think of it. It's Fortnite. Okay, Claire.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Fortnite.
But I want to come up with a really good prize because there's going to be like one winner from this whole thing. And I'd love to give them something really, really cool.
Nice. So look forward to that. That's coming up.
We'll figure that out.
Probably a month or so.
Probably February. February play date is what it'll be.
Nice. Play retro.
You have to be willing to get on, and talk on Discord with us.
Yeah.
So, and we're not doing 100 people. We're going to do 25, a 5x5 grid.
Oh yeah. Don't. Yeah, we're not going crazy. If it takes off and does amazing things, maybe we'll consider it. But let's start low.
Then it becomes a milestone, a Patreon milestone that we have to achieve.
Yeah, that's right. Pull out your wallets.
Yeah.
Also, play retro on Friday, 1:30 p.m. Sonic 3 / Knuckles and Sonic, or Sonic and Knuckles. Weird story behind that game. You got to check that out. Me and Dunaway doing that. And then Film Sack this weekend, we're doing the film Black Hat, a Michael Mann film no one's heard of, from not that many years ago, 2015, I think. And it will be, we'll take a look at it. Chris Hemsworth's in there. He's got a little tiny black hat.
Is that the story? Is he's just got a little black hat,
just a little top hat, and he's doing the Me and My Shadow song.
Me and My Shadow. This is for those looking. It's on Netflix. Came out in 2015. If you said that or not. None of us have ever seen this, and I know zero about it.
Yeah,
so.
I don't either. I don't know a thing. I know I love Michael Mann, and I like Chris Hemsworth, so I don't know why this has such a low score on IMDb, but we're going to find out together. That's it. We're done. Frogpants.com/TMS for all our links to everything, including that Patreon we mentioned. So go check that out. Brian, let's get out of here with some music. What do you have for us?
With the song, closing out our week with another banger. This is Jimmy G 1968. Can't read today for some reason. Wrote in for this one and said, "Hey guys, Jimmy G 1968. Yo, you're retired cruise ship inspector here." Oh yeah, okay, right. Friday, January 19th will be my 56th time to celebrate being a speck on this anthill we call Earth.
Man,
I love how you guys all come up with new ways of telling me it's your birthday. It's the best.
It's amazing.
Having grown up in SoCal, Oingo Boingo is still one of my all-time favorite bands. Yeah, represent, brother. It would make my day if you were to cover them for my birthday. Being that you don't broadcast on Fridays, anytime beforehand would be appreciated. Sincerely, Jimmy G, 1968.
Happy birthday.
Sorry, dude, you're in the range. That's how it works. You get the old people.
That doesn't, the math isn't, is the math mathin'? Math isn't mathin' for me, is it? Jimmy G, it's 1968. If he was born 1968.
Yeah.
He turns 56 this year? Does that mean I'm...
Wait.
54? I guess I'm 54.
You and I are 54. Yeah. So
son of a bitch! I've been telling people I've been telling people I'm 53 for the last
really
2 years apparently.
No, this is what happens. We hit a certain age and it's not as so much forgetting, but we really like that 3 better than the 4.
God, I love the 3 so much more than the 4.
I know.
Oh, all right, well,
I agree.
Then I'll be 54 for the last 6 months of my 54th year. Damn. All right. Well, happy birthday, Jimmy G 1968. You already got your song. Your happy birthday anyway. Let's give you this. Now, I don't, I love Oingo Boingo, and For you, my friend, because you are also a big fan of Oingo Boingo, I don't want to just go with Dead Man's Party or Stay or, one of their biggest hits. I want to go a little bit deeper for you. Geez, that sounds gross. But I'm going to go with a cover by a band that is so visual. If you have not seen what these guys look like, you need to check them out. But this is a great audio cover that you're going to love. Came out in 2005 on the Dead Band's Party tribute to Oingo Boingo. It's by a band called The Aquabats. It's their cover of Oingo Boingo's The Controller.
Get more at frogpants.com.
Where am I now?
Yeah, where are you, Arnold?
Where am I now? Have you ever seen The Aquabats?
I have